Good evening and welcome to the Encore Lounge here at Wolverhampton's Grand Theatre. Currently on stage we have Rotterdam, we have the cast, and we have my co-host Guy Stewart. Hello.
Hello Jason, you alright?
Alright, and you enjoyed the show last night, didn't you?
I absolutely loved it.
Now, you are a bit of a local celebrity, and you're currently appearing in the Carling campaign for their stuff with Black Country Fusion.
Yeah.
And you've been looking at inclusivity there, and that's probably a great point to start it coming to see this show, isn't it?
Well, yeah, definitely. I think, I'm quite openly transgender female. And when I saw the play advertised at the Grand, it was a show that I had to come and see, really. And it's an absolute honour to be with the cast here.
Yeah, well, should we do introductions? Right, I've got my cast list in. Who are you going to introduce? Shall I just do it the whole lot, or are you going to do some of these?
I think you can do it.
Okay, we'll be like that then, okay. Right, we have, first of all, our main two, really, the story centres around Lucy Jane and Elijah playing Josh and Fiona Adrian.
Yes, hello.
Yeah. And then on the back row, we have... Right. We have Beth playing Alice. Yeah. Now you are a big part of this because you're the other half of the relationship with Fiona and Adrian, so that's important.
Yeah.
And then we got a troublemaker in the corner. We have Ellie playing Leilani.
Yeah.
And we find ourselves in Rotterdam, and the story begins with an email. So it's working out which bits we can tell and which bits we can't, because there were lots of great bits, like relationships between you two, that I don't want to talk about because I enjoyed that moment in the story when it came together.
Yeah.
Don't tell anybody.
So we'll keep that bit quiet. But so from an Alice and Fiona point of view, give us a bit on your two parts. Let's start with Lucy Jane.
So, what, our relationship to each other? Or?
Yeah, tell us a bit about how your story starts.
Oh, Alice is a right one, you know. She's right fuddy-duddy, you know.
Yeah.
And like you said, we joined at the beginning, and she's busybodying around, trying to write this email to come out to her parents, but I'm just about to put the absolute spanner in that. Isn't that right, darling?
Yeah, it stole my thunder.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, like, throughout the play, it follows how, like, our relationship sort of evolves and jerks and breaks down, and then, you know, who knows what happens next? You have to come get a ticket, won't you?
Well, that is it. And if you do want to ask us any questions about this, or if you've been to see and you want to know more, do just message us on the Facebook timeline. We are looking at what you're asking, so we will put this to the cast as well if you want to join in. So, a big story. Some small intricacies around the story. I mean, Sky, what for you stood out as the play started?
I think, the main thing is the gender identity and the sexuality and the questions that brought up, obviously between the two characters. When you start off in a lesbian relationship, and the questions that you have to ask yourself, exploring sexuality and exploring gender identity, which is a vital part within, the trans community. When we do, start to transition, it's then poignant. Who are we going to date, and the sexuality part of that. Am I gay? Am I lesbian? Do you know what I mean? And do you see yourself as a straight female? Do you know? And there's all them questions which really the script really pulls out of it all, and it really explores really, really well.
I think it's important to highlight those parts of the dynamics of relationship and, the complexity of sexuality when somebody's transitioning, because, not everybody transitions on their own. Some people begin the transition with their partner, and I feel like what John's done is sort of like opened up that dialogue so that people that are not necessarily aware of ever had a relationship of that flavour can sort of get an overlook of like how complex, how quickly it can become.
Yeah, definitely.
It was like not too long after we'd had the discussion in the show, the first thing Alice is like, okay, I've got a list of questions. Right, do you want a penis? Right, am I straight? How like all of these like bum 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 bum, and yeah, for sure, like it's quite authentic that this partner all of a sudden would be like, hang on a minute, I've been with you for 7 years, and I've just got this idea, and I thought I knew you, but then all of a sudden my whole world has just been pulled away, and it's you know, that's what's really great about this show. It doesn't just focus on like, you know, one sort of like transgender narrative. It sort of encompasses like dynamics within the family, and you know what that can do then with your partner.
Yeah, definitely.
That's one of the like real gems of this show.
Yeah, and then when John Britton put this together, he says in the programme notes that he did a lot of research, talking to people. It's not something he'd been through, and I think a lot of that comes out in the questions from Leilani, and some of the statements you get from Leilani, who is a gay woman, and she makes a lot of statements which you do hear an awful lot around trans world and what people think of people who are transsexual or where they've going through it, considering what their move should be. And winning the Olivier back in 2017, and you were part of that, weren't you?
I actually wasn't. No, there was the first iteration of production happened before I joined, so that's nothing to do with me.
Okay, you're not responsible, but
I'm not
But if you had
responsible for
been in
that.
it, you would have got the Olivier as well.
It would have got 2 if I'd.
And you would have been nominated,
Yes.
but having been with a different cast, how do you think that's changed coming to Wolverhampton with this particular gang? And you've got to say nice things.
It's completely different. Yeah, it is. It really feels like a completely different show, especially because when I went into it the last time, I was the new guy and everyone else had done it like for a year or so before that. And I think it kind of works with Lani because she is this kind of oddball and I don't really, interact with a couple of the characters. But this time around it was great. It really felt like we were just building a completely new show, and that for me was a really like enriching experience. And I've had a great time. I think all these guys are brilliant. The plot's perfect casting, yeah. It's great.
Well, Elijah, we haven't spoken to you as yet, and your part in the show, you seem to do, number one, a lot of dancing, number two, a lot of tidying up and moving things around. And basically you just get to be scene shifter with some brilliant lines.
Yeah. I get to just waltz in, move some stuff around, and try and lighten the mood wherever possible. I have quite a nice ride as an actor through the show, I think. I didn't quite realise how much moving around I'd be doing.
Lots of it's on wheels though, that helps.
Josh he's a nice guy. Bless him. He's trying.
It does come across really, really well on stage, and the exploration of that relationship between the two of you. And I think what was very poignant for me was the selfishness of being transsexual and being, passable. This whole thing about passable, and the conversations that you had around that was very enlightening and very real to real life. The kind of conversations that you do have. I'm not going to give away the relationship.
It's hard, isn't it?
It's really kidding me not to. But that relationship, it's similar to a relationship that I've had. With that. Definitely.
No spoilers.
No
That's the
spoilers.
phone rule, no spoilers.
I do feel like Elijah's character Josh also adds something to the show, in that it's about gender and identity, sexuality, and also relationships.
Definitely.
And Josh has several relationships within the play that are incredibly difficult for him, and I think having that it's just another human element that John's writing is so human and real that it allows people to. I think everybody can relate to it regardless of what their background is.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And have you developed some of the lines in this? Because often when you put a cast in, you maybe say, can you tweak this? And has John let you get away with that, or is it all pretty hard?
Yeah, we have done bits and bobs, and there have been a few little change rounds and updates with some of the language and stuff.
But all the funny ones are his. He's
I can't take any credit for that.
I mean, it is brilliantly funny though, and it was billed as that. I mean, we got a hilarious comedy, gender sexuality and being a long way from home. Well, the comedy is just so, it's nice, it's enjoyable, it's laugh out loud, and that must be great from your point of view when you're on stage, actually hearing the gags in what could be a very difficult play if it wasn't for the humour.
Sure. Yeah, it's great when people laugh.
Do it loudly.
Do it loudly.
Yeah.
That's allowed.
It has such a much stronger impact as well, those heavier, more intense moments really hit an audience with much more intensity because you have those high moments where we're like, oh yeah, it is a comedy, right? Okay. Oh God, oh wait, hang on. Just hold my hand. It's just a complete stranger. It is like, a whirlwind, and you're sort of like shooken up, and you're showing things that you might not necessarily have ever been privy to in your experiences in life. So it's sort of just like you're allowed to just sit there and soak up this doll's house view of this world, this step into these characters who are all interlaced and interlinked and quite complex.
That said though, things like the staging are relatively simple, but allow it all to happen around it as well. Who'd have thought a flat could become a canal?
That's just really good acting.
And doesn't it look gorgeous as well? It's so beautiful. It's such a beautiful moment, that.
Thank you.
Well, it all looks fantastic. Now, one thing I must ask, because this was a discussion within the press area last night, the balloons. Is there one pink balloon?
Yes.
Okay, why, if you can tell us, is there one pink balloon, or is that not allowed?
I don't actually know. Do you know? You look like you know.
Isn't it?
You look like you know.
Symbolism.
Isn't it symbolic of because with the transgender colours and stuff, didn't they want to have one pink one? Wasn't it sort of like an overturn of... Is that... We did discuss it, right?
I mean, I wasn't there.
I wish I did know the answer. It's a question for Ellen.
They always put one pink one in. Yeah, we'll talk to Ellen and we'll get back to you.
I think that the balloons are telling a bit more of a story.
Yeah, it's like
the audience think about it more. If they all came out blue, I don't think many people would think, oh, they're all blue. Whereas putting that one pink one in, suddenly it's an element of staging that does add a dynamic that is whatever you want it to be.
And putting balloons that are prone to exploding.
Oh,
That's really fun.
That was new. That's right.
It's happened once before, but luckily at the
really
point in the bar where I smoked the joint for the first time, and it was perfectly tight. It went off at the perfect time, just as I was about to put it in my mouth, and I screamed. So that was all right.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes then it's not an appropriate moment at all.
It was quite scary.
I mean, that utterly fantastic, and the whole journey that you go on with these characters is amazing. And I know obviously you are all brilliant actors, we know that, but how someone can go through so angry moments on stage and not be really aggressive in the bar afterwards. I mean, what's it like?
Just don't talk about it.
I'm a delight. What are you talking about?
As long as you've got a JD in your hand, you're fine.
Yeah.
But it is the emotions you put yourself through on that stage. It must be hard work doing that every night.
It is a lot of hard work, yeah, it is really difficult, but I mean, I'm not the only one working hard. Mm-hmm. Just because some of it's like coming out in that one moment, it wouldn't be able to happen if the rest of the show up to certain moments weren't built by the rest of the cast. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's not just, I mean, it is quite taxing, and sometimes we've got 2 shows, but it really depends on everyone else. You can only go as far as the rest of the cast drive the show.
Mm-hmm. And you all drive that transition as well, as you see your character going from obviously male throughout, but transforming from a female look into very much a more manly look throughout the show. And that in itself, the audience is sitting there watching this happening, and yeah, okay, in real life that would be over a period of months as it is in the play, but this is happening in front of your eyes, and it is just so well put together. I mean, you must have been thinking, this is a challenge I've got ahead of me, this is going to be hard work, but you guys all carry it off between the lot of you.
Right, it's a nuts 20 minutes in the interval, just like, spray, quick, colour my hair, like, put some acne on. Yeah, it is quite a race. I don't really get a break in the middle. These all get to eat oranges and apples in backstage, and I'm running around looking for prosthetics and cans of paint. But yeah, no, but I think it was really important to show that shift and to show that journey and make sure that we delivered it properly, and it didn't look sort of tripe, it didn't look verging on, a little bit sort of like, oh, that's a bit cheesy.
It's a very intimate moment, that first transitional period. It's a very intimate moment that you share with the audience. One question, because I know you as a drag king. How much of the drag king personality was influenced how you play this role?
Well, you have to be really careful.
Yeah.
Because like doing drag and playing a transgender character are worlds apart.
Definitely.
And so, you know, Louis is a parody of masculinity, and like, you know, he's a bit more of like a laugh to experiment with, whereas with Adrian, I had to become this character.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't like, oh, let's think about, you know, thrusting my couscous all over the place. Like, it's about like really making sure that I get. If you've seen my show, you'll know where the couscous goes.
Let's keep this PG.
It's very PG. It's very PG. Very PG. So like when you go into moving into Adrian, like. Not really much of Louis was taken because this was somebody who'd been on a very specific journey. Like, and Louis as a character isn't a transgender man.
Yeah.
Louis is a drag king. Like, Louis is like got no gender. Like, so it was very different.
Before my transition, when I was exploring myself, I thought I wanted to be a drag queen, and that's why I asked that question. You know, I thought, you know, I'm a man, I'm a gay man, but I've got this fascination. And that was part of my exploration, and I thought, oh, I was writing all this material, you know, to be a drag queen, and that's what I thought.
Yeah, I'd say
and that's why I kind of asked that question.
I'd say like in my life as Lucy, like Louis and my non-binary identity go hand in hand, but the character is really much aside. But doing drag were my way of unpacking my transness and trying to understand it. So like you, very much so. Yeah. But like for the purpose of like, you know, the authenticity to the character Adrian, they'd have to be separate worlds. Yeah. Otherwise I'll start singing Build Me Up Buttercup halfway through the show. But we good for nobody.
Very different show. Yeah. Well, there we go. Although I'm sure Josh, aka Elijah, would do some dancing along to that. Which So I'm going to ask you first, favourite bit of the show for you?
Oh, the bit where you made me cry.
Okay.
Can we
give some explain that one?
No, that's not giving anything.
No, but you know, describe the bit.
No, I thought all you need is tissue.
Okay, right, so for some teacher moments. Favourite bits to act out? We'll just go around the line, but again, no spoilers. I think the party scenes work quite well.
I really like scene 6.
Yeah, scene 6 is fun. There's this scene where Adrian comes out to his parents, with all the party hats on. Yeah. That's a fun one.
Go on. Yeah, I like
just being a bit of a mess at the end. I don't know if that gives away.
You get some fantastic sparkly outfits though throughout.
I do have some great outfits, and there's a great soundtrack, and it's
Elijah?
I started with scene 6.
Okay, you're singing with scene 6, so you're over there. Okay.
Yours 6 as well.
That, and also I think my first scene, so the scene where I go to the bar and meet Lilani for the first time, which then leads into the canal. For me, because Alice is so uptight for those first few scenes, is actually like, it's quite frustrating, and that's finally the bit where I get to have a bit of fun and let loose. So that's always quite a nice point of the show for me, because if I've been nervous up till that point, I don't really have a choice but to smoke a joint and go for it. It's not really a joint, it's a herbal cigarette.
That's well, it's a fantastic show. I mean, you will feel an affinity with all of the characters, whatever your background, however you see, you will see the humanity in all of this, and you will absolutely adore all of them by the end of the show. You'll have different feelings about all of them, I'm sure, but you will get to explore their journey and really take away with you a great night of humour, and of course tug it on the heartstrings as well. And so bring the pocket tissue.
Yeah, definitely bring the tissue.
Yeah, just to make sure you don't cause any problems with the makeup. But there we are. It's here at the Grand Theatre. You've got tonight and tomorrow to come and see it. grandtheatre.co.uk to get your hands on tickets, or 01902 429 the box office number. But thank you all for joining us. Have a great time in the rest of your time here in Wolverhampton. We've loved having you here, and 2 more shows to come and see. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Come and see.